Every client you meet will not make it to the closing table because sometimes you're going to have to fire a few. And in this episode, I am going to share with you a recent thing that happened to me where I saw major red flags that let me know I need to part ways with this person before it stressed me all the way out. So a few months ago, I received a referral, and who doesn't like a referral, right? I love it when I get referrals, and especially from past clients that I loved working with. So received a referral from a past client, and this was a friend of hers who used to live in our area, in the North Dallas area, moved away for a few years, and was now back in the area. So she's talking to her homegirls about her desire to own again in this area as she's getting acclimated back to this side of town. And of course, my past client's like, yes, you definitely have to reach out to Rosemary. The client is singing my praises. So her friend gives me a call. Super excited when I get the phone call because, I really am. I'm excited about referral business, excited about partnering with people to help their home ownership dreams come true. But I will tell you that even in this initial phone call, my spidey senses went up a little bit, and I was wondering if this is going to be a really good fit. Because the person on the other end of the phone, she was nice, right? We definitely had some commonalities and some pleasantries. But when it got into the nitty gritty of what next steps would be in order for her or for us to work together, I was getting pushback on some very basic things, okay? So for instance, when I shared with her, hey, our very first step would be for you to speak with a lender so that we can get a clear understanding of what your purchasing power would be because, we want to know exactly how much home you can afford before we go out and start shopping. Pushback, okay? Homegirl was telling me, I have wonderful credit and I know how much I want to spend. I don't need to speak to a lender. And while I understand that, right, I'm a person too who, thank the Lord, after learning in my 20s, I have pretty good credit now. So I know that getting approved isn't the problem. It's still the best step when you are starting a home purchasing journey because I need to know how much I can afford. I need to know where these numbers are going to come in at because you may have a thought process in your mind and it's completely different seeing it on paper. So number one red flag, she was really pushing back on the lender thing. Then when we were talking about just areas and, setting expectations on price points, she kept telling me, real estate professional. Now, I do not claim to know it all, but I do know that there are just certain things that don't exist anymore. Like new construction in Frisco, Texas for $300,000 or $400,000 at a certain square footage. It just does not exist anymore, okay? And she just kept pushing back, telling me that she saw a sign, and she's telling me the neighborhood she saw the sign. And I have a lot of relationships with the builders in that neighborhood, and I know that the prices are at least double. It was just one of those push and pulls in this initial conversation where I was just like, okay, I just need to gain some trust with her, but there are just certain things that we're going to need to have happen. So we decided, because she was going to be going out of town for a couple of weeks, when she got back in town, we would revisit, we would have another conversation, at which point we would set up our buyer's consultation. And I finally helped her understand why she would need to speak to a lender. She was finally on board with that. We set up that we would talk in a couple weeks. I'm sending her properties. We're cordial. We're sending get to know you type texts. I'm texting her, hope you're having a great vacay, confirming our next appointment, all that good stuff. Well, it got real when homegirl got back in town because when she got back in town, we started narrowing down exactly where her search would be. She wanted to do a full build. So we needed time to get started with that because of the time frame of when her lease was up. So in our conversation, I'm saying, hey, you're going to reach out to the lender this day and, tentative based on what that conversation is like. We scheduled time, identified some new construction that we would go take a look at together after the lender conversation. Then this person proceeded to say, okay, perfect. What time will you pick me up? And you know what? I was not even mad at her because here's the thing. Years ago, I remember being younger and my parents were looking for a house. I remember our realtor picking us up in 1990, right, for us to go look at homes. But never, should I say never? I'm going to stand on a firm never. I haven't ever in my career physically gone to pick somebody up, ride them around in my car, because if nothing else, it is a liability issue, right? This is the way I was taught, and it's just not a practice of mine. And people grown. Like I work with folks that are like, yeah, I will meet you there. Send me the address. GPS work sounds good. So I just informed her. I said, hey, actually, it'll be best if we meet at the property. I'll meet you there at such and such time, all that good stuff, right? And she paused and she said, And, that's when I get the whole, I have been buying and selling real estate and selling houses. Now, she hadn't bought anything in quite a while, but she can never, ever remember a time where she actually had to drive herself to the property, right? She was looking for more of a concierge service. And I told her, I completely understand, but especially at this time of day that we were planning on going to see the property. And honestly, more than anything, it's a liability issue, right? I drive a personal vehicle every single day. If anything were to happen to us in that personal vehicle, it becomes a work vehicle. It can become a liability issue. Just for her safety, it would be a better issue, right, if we drove separately and met her. Friends, we went back and forth on this for a few minutes, and she finally got to the point where she understood. She even asked me, well, how do you think I'm supposed to get there? And I asked her, well, how do you get everywhere else? Like, do you have a driver's license? She had a driver's license, but it just perplexed her that I wouldn't pick her up. But she finally was like, okay, that's fine. She wasn't happy about it, but she's like, but that's fine. I will meet you at the property. So we continue to talk, and she didn't even say I'll meet you at the property. She asked me if I would go to her complex so that she could then follow me to the property. So now I'm really wondering to myself, okay, am I being punked? Because that didn't make sense. First of all, where her complex was, it was pretty far away from where we were going to go look at homes. I was going to be coming from another appointment, and I just said, actually, no, I won't be meeting you at your complex because I'll be coming from another appointment, and my other appointment is actually close to where we're going to be going. So it would be best if you meet me there. And this is where we got into a whole conversation about GPS, and it just went left. To which our friend said to me, I'm just trying to figure out if you're not going to pick me up and if you're not going to trail me or allow me to trail you to the property, what do I need you for to purchase a home? And, there was a part of me where I just wanted to rattle off every single thing that I do and single thing that a real estate agent, how we support alongside the home buying or building process. But this was like red flag number 5 for me, because up until this point, right, there was just a push and pull. I just noticed that every conversation we had, there was a lot of resistance on her end. And I just decided to respect her position and bow out, right? And I said to her, you know what? Here's the deal. I completely understand if the way that I operate my business is not exactly what you're looking for. And I don't want you to compromise, right? I don't want you to compromise what you feel like you need. And if my value to you, if you are seeing the highest value that I can bring to you as your real estate agent, as your advocate, as you are building a home, is picking you up and dropping you off, then we just aren't aligned. So it would probably be best if we were just to part ways right now, okay? But I didn't want to leave her high and dry. And I said, it just might not be a great fit, but here's what I would love to do. I can give you the name of a couple of other agents in the market that I know are, knowledgeable on new construction. I would recommend them. I would work with them myself if I wasn't a real estate agent. Now, I can't promise you that they're going to put you in their car because, again, it is a liability issue. Maybe someone who is brand new to the business that does not have these different practices in place might be in, but I don't know who you want to work with, but I can send you over some names, and then based on that, interview them and figure out what makes sense for you. But yeah, we're not going to be a good fit. I could tell, like, I did it gracefully, and in my opinion, it was tastefully. And here's the truth, right? I'm not responsible for how she received it. I'm responsible for how I put it out there. And I didn't put it out there nasty. I didn't argue with her. I didn't, even take the time to prove myself or prove my worth. But there was enough going on in our initial interactions where I could see if, like, let's just say she did come around the corner, met me at the property, we went under contract, like, that would have been such a trying transaction because we were going into it misaligned, right? And I'm not here to say that she was right and I was wrong, or I was right and she was wrong. What I'm saying is we weren't a good fit. And a lot of times you will find yourself working with someone long before you get into contract with them. There will be signs that, you know what, this is not my ideal client. And I'm not saying everybody has to be the exact same, but for me, like one thing for me that is a red flag is that if you are pushing back on all of my professional advice that I'm sharing with you in a marketing line. I sell tons of homes each year. I have hundreds and hundreds of happy clients. I don't claim to know it all, but I do believe, right, that I am an expert in this industry. And if you're pushing back on everything, then it's not going to be a great situation. And that's the same way when I'm interviewing someone to coach with in our Real Estate Bestie Accelerator Coaching Program, right? I've encountered agents that will come and say that they want to be coached, but they're not coachable. I think that's the word that I'm looking for, right? In this instance, even your clients have to be coachable. There has to be a level of trust, even if they're knowledgeable, right? I get to work with a lot of people who, you know, they are professionals and they're fluent and they are experts in their industry, but they respect what I can bring in supporting them in getting to the next step and in their home buying and selling journey. And if you are noticing that you're getting that pushback, it may be time to step away. And I get it. A lot of times it's hard to step away. One of the best pieces of advice that I got early on in my career is that this is why you keep a full pipeline, right? This is why you go deep on your money-making activities. This is why you make your calls and you do the open houses and you do all the lead generation activities. Because when you have a full pipeline, you get to choose who you do business with. And the reality is that if your pipeline is dry and you don't have any deals, but your bills are due, you may enter into a relationship, an agreement with a client who is the total opposite of a good fit because your back is up against the wall, and it will end up stressing you out. And more importantly, it will affect the level of service that you're going to be able to provide. So definitely think through and pay attention to those red flags. And if one of those red flags is they don't want to get pre-approved and you're trying to figure out, because sometimes people, you just need to know how to talk to them about the pre-approval. In the next video, I'm going to share with you how to handle the objection when the people don't want to get pre-approved so that you can show them. So meet me there, bestie.